Hi, I'm Tim Keckler, Solutions Architect with Crelate. For the past several years, I've been listening to the business processes of staffing firms and helping to transcribe those processes into workflows supported by software. One of the biggest challenges that often arises when I'm doing this is the need for good business analytics. Today, we're going to jump into building some of my favorite metrics dashboards that help you measure all aspects of the business. Now, when I'm talking about all of the aspects of the business, we're going to focus on three major areas. We're going to look into recruiting, we're going to look into sales, and we're going to look into talent management. Most of us use software that tracks these processes individually or together. The software that you're going to see me demonstrate today happens to track all of those in one place, so you're going to see me building out these dashboards all in the same software. But I chose these three individual sections of the business because they all weave in together. When I need to find out how my business is doing, I need to know about all three of these aspects and how they're working together with one another. And by the way, if you stop by the Crelate booth afterward, we're going to be building out some of these reports on the fly with you. So feel free to come by and drop us some of your requests for reports, and maybe we can build them together right there at the booth. The perfect metrics dashboard is going to answer some major questions about the business. It's all about putting that data to work for us. These are some of the questions we're going to look into answering today through building some of these metrics dashboards. I need to know how the business is. Where have we been? Where are we going? I need to know how my team is doing. Who's performing well? Who could we stand to learn from here? I also need to understand what my talent inventory is at. Do I have enough talent on tap to fit the upcoming demand of my clients? Not just what's in play today, but what's going to be happening 3, 6, 9 months in the future. So let's dive in and take a look at some of those reports and dashboards that I use to measure the entire business. The first category we're going to focus on is recruiting. And inside of recruiting here, the first report that I have on screen is KPIs, or key performance indicators. This is very much going to answer that where have we been question. I start with what I consider a foundational report like KPIs because this is going to allow me to know what makes up our day, week, month, year. I need to know how much output it takes to achieve the results that we achieve as an organization. How many emails, how many phone calls, how many interviews, how many text messages, how many offers, so on and so forth. Every organization has the key things that they want to track, and those would be mine. But watch how these reports are going to evolve and the story is going to unfold after that. I need to know from my KPIs here what that's going to translate into. So from this kind of output measured over any length of time, this is the amount of new contract starts we have. I measure mine over time here. So because we were able to accomplish this, that results in this many new contract starts and ultimately this much revenue. So how many new contract starts are we getting from that kind of output and how much revenue are we achieving? And down below that inside of the recruiting dashboard here is where I really start to make the data work for me. Down here is where I'm going to start measuring the amount of a certain event it takes to achieve a certain result. And this is called ratio reporting. So some of my highlights here are the number of calls it takes to get an interview, the number of interviews it takes to get a contract start. So when I'm measuring these ratios, I'm taking a look at the amount of a certain thing it's taking us to achieve a certain result. I need to know how many times we have to hit the phone on average to start a project manager or to start a new developer. I need to know the amount of candidates we have to send out for interviews on average in order to get a new contract or a new offer from that. And down below that, I'm starting to measure the time it takes to do this. And I have mine separated out by role. Different roles are going to take my team different amounts of time to fill. And I want to be able to say to a hiring manager on the phone today that's going to give me a call, on average, it takes us X amount of time to find the role that you're looking for. I'm looking at the overall output performance of my organization in the way of KPIs amongst recruiting. So it's more than just metrics scorecards here. I really need to put this data to work for me by showing me how much it's taking of something to achieve a specific result inside of my workflow. And the very next dashboard I have here is my team dashboard. where I'm going to start to take a look at each individual team member and how they're contributing to that. I'm going to start to surface areas of improvement and also team members that we can afford to learn from. So I'm going to start with a foundational report here again in KPIs. The same kind of metrics that you saw me track organizationally, this time I have it broken down by individual contributors. Then I need to start to measure what that has resulted in as far as, just like the first dashboard of reports, the number of new contracts that we've started and or placements that we've made. And I also need to start to measure the value of those. So how many placements come from this kind of output and how much money do we make? Kind of my three main reports in any of those categories here. But down below that, now I start to measure things like average time to close, because now I want to know who's doing this the fastest. If I get in a certain type of project today, I want to know exactly who my best recruiter or account manager is that I'm going to put on that project in order to get that done the fastest and with the highest quality. And then I move right back into the ratio reporting here. This is where I start to look at the individual contributors and saying, how many interviews does it take to get a contract start and who are my top performers there? Which I feel is really important here when we're talking about team and individual performance metrics, because output, as in the KPI table above, isn't necessarily the single best determining factor of performance. So if I have a recruiter that's making 25 phone calls a day versus another recruiter that's making 8 phone calls a day, but that 8 phone call a day recruiter has 2 times the amount of offers at the end of the week as the one who's hitting the phones 25 times a day, ratio reporting is going to expose that sort of thing. So it's going to let me know from an output perspective, again in KPIs, but also a results perspective. How many offers are we making in order to get someone hired or get a placement or get a contract start by individual contributors? I can find who my top performers are there. And after that, as far as the team and individual contributor component of this goes, I need to start measuring and predicting what's coming down the pipeline. So the last report inside of a dashboard like this is upcoming contract value by account manager. How much is coming up and how much is in the open projects that we're working on today? Again, by individual contributors. Here we have another revenue report that starts to look into the next category here, and that's sales. Now, sales is equally important to track right alongside of recruiting. We're going to answer some of those major questions with sales reports as well. Do we have enough contracts? Do we need to post some recs? Do we need to get out there and do some business development, win some new accounts so that we can get some new contracts? So down below that, what's the total value of new contracts that we've had? And I separate this by client. I like to see who my top accounts are right in the same way that I like to see the output of the organization from an activity perspective. I'm also taking a look at the new projects. How many new projects over time has that resulted in? If I take a look at March here, I can see that we have 12 new projects on deck. And, back in October of last year, we had 16. And then I go right back into the ratio reporting. Again, making your data work for you. Not just a scorecard, not just metrics for the sake of tracking and metrics, but how does one metric affect the other? How many sales calls did it take us? How many interviews with that hiring manager? How many business development calls did it take in order to win that new account? Ratio reporting is going to expose that. It's going to tell me how much I'm doing to achieve these specific results here. And this is going to allow me to start looking at other areas of the business and forecasting some of my sales efforts and getting some of my talent ready to start on these projects. And again, what's that resulting in terms of upcoming pipeline? So this is the total potential value by my client. So if I scroll up a little bit here, you see what we've made so far. And then down at the bottom of my screen here, I'm taking a look at the upcoming pipeline. How much are we going to have to fill? So inside of my forecasting dashboard here, I'm taking a look at the number of new roles that we have coming down the pipeline. Again, this isn't today. This is 2 months from now, 4 months from now, 10 months from now.
I'm tracking all of my sales, I'm tracking all of my recruiting, and I'm tracking all of my talent management in here. It's surfacing these metrics for me. So what you're seeing here is just a by role, an upcoming talent pipeline of what I can expect to need to fill in the future. I'm not focused so much in a report like this on what I have today and who's out on contract currently, but I very much want to say, you know what, I'm going to need 5 Java developers, or I'm going to need 6 accountants in a certain span of time. And after I take a look at this report through the types of roles that I'm going to need to fill, I also want to look at it again through the lens of revenue. Which of these roles are going to net me the most? Which one should I be focusing on and spending the majority of my time on in order to get them filled? Or putting my team into action in order to get those roles filled? And then I'm going to start to weigh that against the talent inventory. But before I do that, the talent inventory portion of that, down here I need to find out by value what these roles are going to net me. Because I want to focus my efforts on the things that are going to be the most impactful for the business. So this is answering the question of where are we going? What's my talent inventory? Do I need to post a rec? Things like that. So I can say, have this money out by upcoming contract values. Now let's see who I have available in order to fill these. Or when are the people going to be available in order to fill them? And that's very much going to answer that question for me about, do I need to post a rec? Do we need to get out there and hire? Do I need to mine my existing talent database in order to find new candidates that we haven't hired yet that might have been a good fit or might be a good fit for a future role? So it looks like we have a good picture of what we have coming up. And that's answered the question, do we have enough contracts? What's coming down the pipeline? Is the pipeline of sales healthy? So if I take a look at this assignments dashboard, this is my way of seeing all of my current talent, where they are in terms of their current contracts, what they do, and when they're coming off of those contracts. Those are the individuals that I'm going to start lining up with these new projects even before I start recruiting for them. So I'm going to be taking a look at the folks that are coming off assignment and then considering them for the upcoming assignments by attaching them to those projects and getting them inside of the interview loops. If I don't have enough talent here, that's when I'm going to start to post a rec, or I'm going to dig into the database and find some folks who were almost a fit in the past that we need to reach out to and start interviewing for a new position today. All of that is going to allow me to keep my pipeline healthy, both in terms of sales and recruiting. Managing my talent inventory allows me to keep contracts flowing steadily. It also allows me to know when to go recruit. So as we close out, I hope that you take a few key things with you. Firstly, your perfect metrics dashboard should be a combination of diagnostic and predictive analytics. If all we're doing is looking behind us, then we're going to be stuck in reverse. We can do better than that, but we need to make our data work for us. Second, it should tell you about all of the major aspects of your business. It shouldn't be siloed into a single pipeline of sales or recruiting. All of those processes work together. So we should be able to have reports that encompass all of those areas of the business and how one affects the other. And third, it should allow you to manage by providing you more than just a scorecard of metrics. I should be able to see the effort required in order to achieve the results that we're achieving. I hope that this has sparked some really good ideas for you. Please feel free to stop by the Crelate booth after. We're going to be building some of these reports out on the fly with you. Please feel free to come by and just drop us some of the challenges that you've seen in reporting, some of the things you might want your new reports engine to do for you, and let's see if we can build some of those together. Enjoy the rest of the conference. We'll see you on the floor.